Now, we weren't due to start this thing, but we do have a few submissions here, Ruth. Okay, so shall we go into it?
Yeah.
Are you happy to do that? So are you saying we've got Richard Hanson?
Yes.
Do we have Jessica? Yes, and we've got Tony? No, but then we've got Anthony. All right. Is the panel happy to start? So you're coming all the way up here, Richard. Hello. Good morning.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for yours. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
So you have, now hang on, I've got something to read about the submissions here. Okay, just reminding you when you've had a seat, we'll be operating a 5-minute timer.
Yes.
And within that time, we ask you to highlight key points from your submission. And if you wish to, you can leave some time for panel members to ask questions. So it's up to you if you leave time within that 5 minutes.
Thank you very much.
And just reconfirming that we are not the final decision maker. We're recommending to council who will be the final decision maker.
Wonderful. That's good to
Richard,
know.
welcome. And
Thank
your
you.
time starts round about now.
Thank you. Kia ora, my name is Richard Hanson. I am a Cantabrian Christchurch boy, born and bred. Celebrated my 60th birthday this year. I had 20 years born and bred, left for 20 to 25 years up in Auckland, and came back recently, well, in the last 20 odd years, to experience the earthquakes and be here for all of the rebuild of Christchurch. I'm here to speak in opposition of the sale of the Litchfield car park and in opposition of choosing a different operating model. I want to spend my time just bringing to your attention and putting on the record an anomaly in the data in the public consultation that I think actually sways the table on page 7 quite considerably. What I'm speaking to is the fact that the panel of councillors who have been assessing the viability of this proposition were given 3 options to consider. Specifically on page 8, if you refer to clause 5.10.1 to 5.10.3, the options were option 1 to retain the car park and make changes to improve the financial performance, option 2 to retain the car park with no changes, and option 3 to dispose of the car park and recycle the capital into other council uses. That is in comparison and contrast to what is summarised on page 6 in clause 4.6, where the summary of the public consultation said that submitters were asked to provide feedback on only 2 points. 1, to retain and change the ownership model, and 2, to sell and recycle. We were not given the option to express that we wanted to retain ownership and retain the current model. I find that bias. Because if you look at the table on the top of page 7, you will see quite clearly that 74% of the respondents want to retain the car park, but were forced into also accepting change in the operating model. They didn't have the option to say, actually, it ain't broken, we don't think it needs to be fixed. The only other option presented to them at this point in time was to sell the car park, clearly which they didn't want to do, so their hand was forced into accepting that the operating model was going to change. I suspect that the 10% who decided not to state either of those 2 options didn't feel like they had an option that they could confidently put their name to. That concerns me. That sways what you're saying in this report. You're saying that 74% of people favour changing the operating model. I don't consider that true. That is my main issue with this report. Having said that, and with 1 minute 52 to go, I also just wanted to acknowledge the fact that clause 7.7 of the report on page 14 clearly states that the proposition does not support the council's long-term plan, 2024 to 2034. It wasn't part of the plan. It was never considered at the time that the plan was being made. I also just want to reiterate that we only have 3 public car parks in Christchurch, namely the one we're talking about at Litchfield Street with 805 car parks, the Arts Centre with 106 and the Botanic Gardens with 305. If we did find ourselves selling this car park, we would lose 66% of the council-owned car parks in Christchurch. That would be a reduction from around 1,200 to 400. That would sway what I believe is the cost point for parking in this city, because public car parking is the moderator, I believe, of what the private sector will set the cost of parking in the city for. Christchurch is on a rebuild. It is still rebuilding. My wife works at Ballantyne's. I park at this car park 4 to 5 times a week. I've seen the amount of foot traffic and the vitality in the Christchurch city. We are lucky, people. We are damn lucky. Auckland has died. Wellington has died. There is a fine balance between a thriving ecosystem in the middle of a city and one which is dying on the vine. Please don't alter that. Please don't sell this car park. If you do choose to revisit the ownership model, I think it needs to go to consultation again, because people need to have a valid and real opportunity to state what they really feel like. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your passion and a very clear submission. Just to clarify, when you stated that it's not in the LTP, that's why we're having a special consultation on it. So that's what you need to do if it's not in the LTP.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
But yeah, particularly take your points on board. Are there any quick questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So now we call Jessica McLean. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Mauri ora ki te whare. Ki ngā mana whenua, ki nai tahu, ki nai tuahuriri, tēnei te mihi, rau rangatira mā, nei rā te mihi kia koutou. Ko ai au, ko Jess McLean tōku ingoa. I'm here as a member of the Avonside Wainoni community. I don't speak on behalf of that community, but I'm part of that community. So I want to acknowledge my privilege in being able to be present here physically today, that I'm able to take time off mahi, pay for parking, which has also motivated me to attend, because I'm not sure how many people from the east side will be present today. You've read my brief submission, so I guess just to reiterate my main point, although I am opposed to the sale of the car park, this isn't necessarily on ideological grounds. My major objection is that we haven't been given enough information in relation to what would happen with the proceedings of the sale to make an informed decision. I note that the 2025 Council annual report shows that we have significant assets, and that largely the Council remains compliant with its financial ratios and prudence benchmarks. So my own view is that we are not in dire financial straits, and even if we were, years of underinvestment cannot and should not be addressed by selling our assets. This is unsustainable and, in my view, undesirable. As has been mentioned, 74% of people submitting oppose the sale. Whether or not you find my own reasons for objecting to the sale convincing, I ask you to take into account the full range of reasons opposing the sale. I think Council has asked for the city's opinion, and it seems clear to me that the city has spoken. So I urge you, please, to listen to us and to take a very clear message back to Council. And that's all I had to say, really.
We've got a couple of questions, so Mark.
Thank you, and well spoken. Thank you for coming in. You talk about not understanding what the proceeds could be used for. What sort of things might, settle your mind and perhaps allow you to think about the idea of selling?
That's a good question, and thank you for asking, because I meant to say, but I'm a little nervous.
It's cool.
I forgot. Personally, I would want to see a reinvestment in further assets rather than the payment of debt. I know that there's discourse in the media about councils high level of debt. But having looked at the figures, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable, actually. I recall correctly, the council's asset base works out to be about $58,000 per person. And so, yeah, so I wouldn't want to see it to pay down debt. I would want to see it reinvested in something that benefits the community.
Just an out there thought, if it was to be reinvested in building another car park building in a different part of town that's lacking, would that be something that might appeal?
I acknowledge Richard's submission in noting that the council-owned car park influences car parking rates. While I personally avoid coming into town as much as possible, for many people that's unavoidable, and I think that it's important that the council not let parking rates in the city balloon.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Kelly?
Thanks for your submission. It's very clear. Just in terms of, could you just say again what you think are the main advantages of council owning the car park?
Sure. So I guess primarily you can only sell it once. And so once it's sold, it's gone. Whereas in the absence of further information about what any money would be spent on, retaining the asset is a conservative decision because it conserves the possibility of sale in the future should that be desirable.
So your concern is really about retaining the asset over most other sort of considerations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Did it?
Well, thank you for your time and allowing me to submit today. Godspeed. I'm sure it's going to be a long day for you, but thank you.
Thank you.
No. Thank you for coming in. You did a good job. Do we have Tony Vinson here? We've got Anthony Goff. So, Anthony, would you like to make your way up to the table? Oh, sorry, one of the panelists has just suggested that submitters, you're free to go if you want to, but you're free to stay as well. So right, welcome you to.
Lovely, thanks very much. You can hear me all right? Yep. I actually saw this more as a school lesson for you people about car parking buildings. I would quote from Councillor Jardine that says 6 out of 9 parking buildings are owned by Wilson Party. I can tell you none are owned. So really sad that we've got councillors who don't understand ownership. I have to know about ownership. I was one of the early starters in Christchurch. We had the anchor projects we're going to drive the city forward. They didn't. It was the private owners that did that. I own a car park building in Christchurch, one of the 9. It is actually managed primarily by a system called Desigda. Wilson's take bookings for it. We have no Wilson's labels on it. They don't set the rates. For car parking buildings, the prices are actually set by the owners. We have 3 rates on the car parking building. You asked about profitability. Happy to talk to you about that. We don't make a profit on our car park building. It's a loss leader. Just like supermarkets don't make a profit on their car parks. They're an essential component. We would love to make a profit, but we don't. Our rooftop is at $5 per day for a car park. The permanent's lower down. We've got about 60% of the building on permanents. They're $10 a day. And then we've got casuals at $4 a half hour. And we're running a car park at about 80% occupancy. Not good enough to make a profit, but we're not worried about it. And you will have noticed the variations in rental. We did probably one of the high rates, similar to what you charge on the street, and that's because we're in a prime position at the terrace. We've got captured clients. We're lucky. I don't have any retail in my development. They're all hospo or office. I think those that are in retail are hurting my head because of online shopping. My partner never goes to a shop. It's all online shopping. So really important that we look and say, how do they work? They actually work privately. Their rates are set by the owners. There's not vast sums going overseas. Wilson's Party, if they do manage it, it's a set fee. If there's only one car park in there, still the same set fee. If it's full, same set fee. It's the revenue you're paying for a car park is not going to Wilson's Party. And I think every party is a grudge purchase. You don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, let's go do some shopping. They want to pay for a car park. No, they don't. Nobody does that. It's a nonsense. And you've got to understand that. I don't believe it's an essential asset of the council at all. I actually am a believer that you've got about 6 other car parks in town that are privately owned. They're not raping and pillaging the people. If you set your rates too high, people just don't park there. It's very simple. It's rate driven. Don't need to worry about, the protection of the poor unsuspecting person. No, they make their own decision. What's the going rate? There's a sign on our car park. Tells you what the rate is. And it's quite simple. So I think it's really important you understand it's set by the private industry. Most of the car parks have been built by private enterprise, and that's why we've got life in the centre city. If it was up to the council and your car parking enthusiasts out there, you wouldn't have car parking, you wouldn't have a centre city. Just like if you go to a supermarket, they didn't have car parkings, they wouldn't exist. Our centre city wouldn't exist without the private car parks that have been put up, losing money. Not one of the owners is making money. Believe me, I know. So probably that's where I should finish and say I think you should sell the car park and better use money, reduce debt. I know they believe, oh, it's wonderful to have huge debt. No, it's not. Your biggest expense is actually interest in council, and you need to reduce rates, you need to reduce debt. I'm all about that. But you probably want to ask some questions.
Great. Councillor Coker and then Councillor Barber.
So this is incredibly interesting. I was wondering who would buy it if they're going to lose money on it.
Well,
It doesn't make sense to me.
well, Wilson's are clearly an operator. There's actually another operator in town you don't know about who's got 18 sites here in Christchurch. There is interest in it. There's growth long term. My terrace didn't make money to begin with. The Westpac building, it's separately owned by myself and my brother. We have yet to get $1 out of it. But we're at the long term. This sort of thing is a long-term asset. And I believe car parking is a long-term asset. There are buyers out there. You'd be surprised how many people have a long-term view. If we didn't, we wouldn't have built in Christchurch. We would have done what a lot of people did, grab your insurance money and run off to Auckland. Didn't help Christchurch. But those of us, about 6 of us, actually took our insurance money and poured it straight back into Christchurch. And thank goodness we did.
Yes.
Thanks, Anthony. Fascinating. We don't often get owners of car parks come to council, but I'm just interested in your thoughts on the return on investment. $1.5 million on essentially, the lost opportunity, because the gain is 3% on the investment of essentially, I guess, $50 million. What are your thoughts around that? Because obviously the cost of borrowing is significant. We've just heard from council staff that essentially on an asset they would hope to get a 5% return, and it's below that. What are your thoughts about that? Sorry, I haven't articulated very well.
No, you've done very well. I would, as I say, car parking is it doesn't make money. Hospitality, office, rental does make money. Car parking doesn't, but it's an essential operation like the suburban supermarkets and that. So I just think it's an essential asset. The market will determine the rate. It's not set by some overseas glorious person saying you will charge this much. Wilson they actually do manage our car park. We have no signage on it, It's not advertised as such. The system is a Designa system there. We also have a property management for our car park, but we set the rates. We make the decisions. We're about to lift our rate on our rooftop car parking because nobody likes to go to the roofs. So that's why we've got it half rates.
Okay, thank you. So in other words, by your logic, actually, we're doing very well
Yes,
to bring in a 3% return.
You are doing better than
So
me.
why should we sell it?
Well, I think you should, because you can do better by reducing debt.
Right, so that's what you're coming from. Okay.
I'm about debt reduction.
Well, thank you very much. It's a really interesting submission and some good questions there. So thank you, Anthony. It's really nice to see you.
And it's probably worth knowing that we don't make profit out of our car parks.
Yeah.
And we're not driven by Wilson's or anyone else.
No, that was very good information, actually.
Well,
And thank you for your done.
The operators that went out of it all. Have we got Tony Minson yet? So James Ballantyne. Jonathan Ballantyne. Welcome, Jonathan.
Morning. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Ballantyne. I'm the Managing Director of Ballantyne's. I've been doing that role for about 8 months. I appreciate this opportunity to provide input into the future of the Litchfield Street car parking building. This is a continuation of the constructed interactions that we have had with Council on many issues, including the car park, over the years. Car parking is a key factor in ensuring the vibrancy of the Christchurch CBD, and as a major retailer in the central city, we rely on convenient and affordable car parking options for our customers and the staff. Ballantyne's doesn't have a strong preference for either of the options, whether to retain or sell. What I would like to highlight is we believe the council should maintain a high level of control of this asset. Ownership has allowed the council to retain control of this essential piece of infrastructure and influence it through its numerous incarnations over the last 65 years. From building the car park in the 60s, its expansions in the 80s and then the 90s, and finally rebuilding of the car park in 2016, all have massively changed what that car park has done. Coinciding with each of these developments, Ballantyne's has had the opportunity and the confidence to expand and refresh its own footprint. Without that control and that interaction between Ballantyne's and the council, all of that would have been very hard to achieve. Whatever is done with the car park, its primary function should remain as it has been for the last 65 years. That is to provide fair-priced, short-term parking for visitors and shoppers in the central city, close to the Cashel Street Mall. While we appreciate that providing the option of permanent and long-stay car parking may be considered to improve the financial return, the number and location of these long-stay parks should be done in a way to not materially impact on the availability and accessibility of parks for customers and visitors. Any future arrangements must limit the number of long-stay car parks and locate them on the upper floors. Car parking rates must remain affordable and aligned with market conditions to encourage the visitation and support retail and general central city activity. Parking charges should not deter customers from visiting the CBD. Excessive pricing risks undermining retail recovery and central city vitality. Christchurch is not like a New York or a London or a Sydney. It does not have an infrastructure public transport system that will deliver people into the city. People drive. Finally, on a more commercial issue, the commercial rights that have been established between the council and Ballantyne's over the years with regards to the car park need to be taken into considerations. Ballantyne's existing legal rights of access through the car park must be preserved under any ownership or operational models. This also applies to the rights around the fire sprinkler systems that are shared between the two buildings. Curtailments of these rights would seriously restrict and influence our long-term viability. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Coker.
If we hadn't have consulted, would you think, had you been thinking, like before the consultation, did you think there were any changes we actually needed to make?
Yeah, it has what I've observed with the car park is I believe there are a lot of long stay parkers that turn up in that building earlier in the morning. And so the first 3-4 floors are filled with people that are there all day. I drive into that building at 7:30 in the morning at times, and it's already full. They can't be coming to shops. They can't be going to Anthony's pubs. They must be long all day parkers. And all of the car parks around the city do that push to get the long stay people further up the buildings to make it. It's how you make your revenue model work, because then it's very appealing for people to come in short stay where you make a lot of money for a few hours. Not a good return though.
Jonathan, do you have any concept of how many people visiting Ballantyne's would use that car park? And do you actively tell customers through communication that it's available?
I can't say we have in the past. I can't say whether there's anything actually on our websites or anything permanently now. A lot of customers do come in via that. It's so closely aligned. That car park, there's a lot of history to that car park and Ballantyne's. If you look in 1958 when it was considered, we were rebuilding our building, and that probably wouldn't have progressed in the same way if that hadn't been built. In the 80s, we actually sold. We had a bit of block of land there, and that was provided to the council to double the size of that car park. In the 90s, the council actually had car parking, 90s, 2000s, that car park actually extended over the top of Ballantyne's. So it's highly important to our customers coming in.
Yeah, and just another follow-up question. In terms of the returns, do you think that it is more important that council retains that asset than give it up to private ownership? And do you think that that would be a negative thing?
Personally, I think it would be a negative thing to give away that asset. If you retain that asset, you've got some control, and you've got some way to influence what is happening with car parking in the city.
Yeah, and just as a businessman, because we don't often get a lot of business people along here, if it was sold for $50 million, and say there's a myriad of choices as to what we would do with that, an investment fund or reduction in debt. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a couple of levels. I don't think you'll sell it for $50 million. You may have had to pay, but as Anthony says, they are lost leaders there to provide an essential bit of infrastructure to run the city. Car parks in Christchurch are like the railway stations in London, in New York, Sydney. They are the way that you bring people into the city. Reduction in debt. My background is banking. I think a good amount of debt is a good, efficient way to run an organisation. I do not think the council is overgeared.
Oh, that's a good answer. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think just adding to the response about the customers knowing about the car park, I think Ballantyne's customers, I think it's in their DNA. Actually,
Well, we
all know it's there.
We do at times have people ringing up complaining about our car park.
Well, thanks for taking that one for us. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who have we got now?
So,
No, see, keep going.
but
Adele?
So that was Adele.
And then
But Doug is going to be coming in via Teams, and he was setting up his computer when I spoke to him, so he should be online any second now.
okay. Do you think we should wait for him?
Yeah.
And then we'll have a break.
Yeah. So he should be on any second now. He should come in.
Okay. And this one not here?
Only is now an apology.
And we're waiting for Adele.
Yeah.
All right. What about Simon? That's 11 o'clock.
Yeah. I'll bring him next.
Okay. So we might take a break after Doug, if that's all right.
Here we go.
Welcome. Doug. Can you hear us, Doug? Can you hear me? Yes. Maybe that's why we can't hear him. Doug, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We're away. Great.
good.
So far away. You've got 5 minutes from now. So off you go. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, everyone. So as a ratepayer, I'd just like to start saying that everything I'm about to say kind of prioritises the council-owned facility, the Litchfield car park. I'm a user of that. It prioritises the council having the strategic ability to, use it as a lever for kind of future things. So, if we've got events, we've got things happening in the city, the council retains that strategic ability to change pricing or encourage people to use the city more with it. Having grown up in Wellington and lived in Auckland, I know this from kind of two sides. I know how lucky we've got it in Christchurch, and I also know what bad looks like or what it looks like when we go pretty commercial on these things. So my main feedback focuses on those two aspects. One is retaining that future strategic decision making, and then making sure that we have return of fees and kind of costs to our ratepayers back into the kind of the collective good. So I'm kind of really keen to highlight that those are my values. I see that there are kind of three big decisions or paths that could be taken. I'm sure that there's more than this. I'm sure the council sees it in more detail. But I think the first one is that we treat the car parking infrastructure as a commercial kind of opportunity and we sell it. The only conclusion on that is somebody's trying to get a return on that. So we lose a lot of the potential margin and they crank prices up as much as they can. We also then lose that strategic ability to set prices, create free days, encourage the community engagement in the city that we want. So, shops are really at the mercy of a commercial enterprise rather than the city as a whole. The second option is that we might treat it commercially, but retain it and really look at returning any of that profit back into the city. So that might even look like increasing the fees or, looking at that in a more commercial context. What kind of return can the council get from the assets and infrastructure that they've got? And then the third option, I think, is kind of keep treating it as a bit of a public resource that we've got now, which is keeping prices down, keeping things pretty light on the ground. I think our fees are pretty cheap right now. I think $15 a day, which is about what I've been paying for parking there, is pretty light. And we lose a bit of opportunity for, I guess, getting that return, right? We're not kind of maximizing the value of that asset as a bit of a commercial thing. So I'm a big fan of that kind of middle option, which is commercializing it a bit more, leveraging some kind of competitive rates and things, cranking it up. We've got lots of facilities in the city that are going to create more demand. We've got the stadium about to open. We've got that Metro Sports Hub. We've got kind of more rebuild stuff happening. So we're only going to get more demand over time. So if we were to sell things right now, we're kind of leaving money on the table as a community and we're losing a lot of control. So Yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say, and big fan of keeping Litchfield Street car park. It's one of my locals.
Thank you very much. Very clear submission. Are there any questions? Doug? I don't think so at this stage. Oh, Kelly wants to know where you got the shirt from. I think that's commercially sensitive information. We don't
Oh,
have
the
to
wife
divulge
makes
that.
these ones.
This
so
was
I'm very
Valentine's.
lucky. So,
All right. Thank you
Cheers.
very much. Cheers. Do we have anyone else here? David? Where is David? Okay, so it's 11. So we've got maybe Simon at 11. So we'll take a break for 20 minutes and reconvene back here just before 11 if that's fine. Okay, so we've got Simon. Thank you, Simon, for coming in a bit earlier.
No worries.
Excellent. Righty ho. When you are ready, don't rush. When you're ready, we'll start the clock and you've got the 5 minutes.
Okay. Yep, I'm good to go.
Good. Okay.
So my name is Lester Simon Ironside. I live at 3A Heaton Roads Place in Cashmere. I'm a rate payer and have been a daily user of the Litchfield Street car park for the last 5 years. I'm opposed to the sale of the car park, option 2, and disagree with the thrust of option 1 in that I want the car parking fees to remain in the car park to remain in the council ownership and the price increases kept to a minimum. Before I give all my reasons, I'd like to thank or congratulate the council on their asset. It's a modern, well-designed and maintained and strategically sited car parking facility. It's well patronised, and for me, the charge represents value for money. I note that the website quotes the daily charge as $16, but it's actually $16.50, but it's neither here nor there. As an EV owner, I also appreciate the charging facilities available. So my objections to option 2, the sale, are as follows. First of all, philosophically, the principles of asset sales at a national or local level, in my view, are fundamentally wrong. The one-off sugar hit has lasting negative impacts on a nation or a community's financial stability and control over essential services. This has been borne out many times since the radical neoliberal free market Chicago School of Economics influenced reforms were implemented in New Zealand at the local, regional and national level. The ongoing negative impacts of asset sales are still being felt by successive generations of New Zealanders. The most topical perhaps is the mess that is now the privatised electricity market, or perhaps the privately mismanaged Moa Point wastewater treatment plant. I applaud the earlier Christchurch City Council's decision to retain their assets and find it hard to believe that such an action is now being considered. I understand the assets return something like $1.5 million to the council annually, which brings me to my second point, the loss of an ongoing revenue stream. Profitable council assets provide an annual dividend buffer that helps to offset or at least mitigate rates increases. Once sold, that long-term income stream is permanently lost. Selling a profitable asset to avoid immediate rates increases is short-sighted and often leads to even higher rates in the future as the council no longer has the asset's income to offset costs. A short-term sugar hit may provide immediate cash, but fails to address underlying long-term debt and funding issues, ultimately contributing to the downward financial spiral. By selling assets, council loses the ability to influence the management and strategic direction of essential infrastructure, in this case, central city car parking, potentially leading to privatised services that are less focused on community needs. There is also the risk that the asset may be sold below its market value as potential buyers smell blood in the water. There's the issue of intergenerational inequity. Selling a community asset is unfair to future generations who will face the increased costs without the benefit of the asset to offset them that their rate-paying forefathers and foremothers paid for. The sale of Litchfield Street would severely impact the central city, which council has worked so hard to revive. we know that Wilson's or any other operator will immediately increase parking charges significantly, making the city centre a more expensive option for shoppers and placing increased burden on central city workers like myself. With the new Te Kaha Stadium opening soon, which is forecast to increase demands for central city parking, the decision to sell from this point of view alone needs to be questioned. This is not, in my view, the time to relinquish control of a major central city car park. Litchfield Street is a strategic council asset, enabling it to influence central city parking prices and support local business. Council has long been concerned about the viability of the central city, and selling Litchfield Street does nothing to alleviate this concern. My objections to part option 1, increased pricing, are as follows. Historically, council has used lower prices to support central city retail, particularly as suburban malls provide free parking. An increase in parking charges in line with other operators such as the highly unpopular Wilson's will impose a privatised parking monopoly that will impact the strength and vitality of the central city. Ownership of Litchfield Street and the continuation of the lower price strategy positions council as the honest broker, keeping the other bastards honest. A vibrant central city, including a well-supported Te Kaha, is a long-established and laudable council goal. Sale of the Litchfield Street car park or large increases in parking fees will undermine this goal by making the central city a less attractive option for those who are increasingly discovering that it is a great place to experience, to the detriment of us all. I hope the feedback from this consultation process is carefully considered at decision time and the outcome is not a foregone conclusion. I appreciate that council is currently facing financial headwinds. The recent rates increases have been eye-watering after all, but selling the Litchfield Street car park or doubling car parking rates is not the way to go, in my opinion, as I've discussed. Thank you for allowing me to make this submission.
Thank you, Simon. Just a quick question from me. So, yes, you're quite clear that you're worried about a risk if a private owner was to hike the prices. What's your appetite for a small increase to make it potentially more viable? For people?
I mean, if it's going to happen, something's going to happen. Obviously, you can see that. There's nothing we can do about it. But the prices have been going up anyway. Since I've been using it, it's been going up. So if it carries on, but to suddenly go from $16 or $17 to $25, $30,
that's what you're objecting to. Yep.
It's just a rip-off.
Yep. Any other questions around the table?
Okay.
You're good.
Does anyone? Do you want this?
Or do you need we have got a copy of your submission.
Oh, you haven't got
that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Coming in. Okay, so we don't have the other two. So what we can do now is we can, if there are any questions for staff, we can bring them back to the table now. Are there any other questions, or do you want to wait till after lunch? You do? Okay, let's get staff back to the table then. And you have, great. Thank you. Okay, so first of all, Bruce has got the answers to some previous questions, and then we'll go into the new ones. Yep.
So just in terms of that range of car parking, and I've used a 2 hour, going for a shop, so 2 hour period. So for 2 hours, it'd range from $4.50 to $28 for a 2 hour period. Litchfield sits at $8.60 and $8.80 for the art gallery. You are partly affected there with the crossing car parking, which is the lower amount, which is $4.50 for the two. In terms of the finance questions that you asked, sorry, just let me open this up. So that the borrowings are over a 30-year period, and they won't be fully repaid until 2047-48, so 22 years from now. In terms of art gallery, we haven't done a similar assessment, and just good timing because the people who supplied this walking in the room. So the art gallery is capitalised as a whole, not just the car park portion of it. So we haven't done that assessment of return on investment on the car park. It has last year it generated $322,000 worth of revenue and $111,000 of operational costs, which excluded debt servicing or depreciation. So those are the ones I've got to date for the answers to those questions. Happy for any other.
Well, so the other question to that surprised me that we've borrowed over 30 years. I thought we were normally 25. And how much of that is hedged and set?
Mitch. This end today.
Yeah.
Way
You're at the head today, not the tail.
Thanks for coming.
So the council doesn't hedge borrowing for individual projects. Debt is managed at a global council level, and we hedge in line with our current policies. So in the immediate year or two, most of our borrowing is hedged, and that then decreases over time based on expected payments and likelihood of the planning cycles.
And so that's why you've mentioned that figure 5% is what?
Because it's an average.
Yeah.
Correct. So our average cost of funds at the moment, the interest that we incur on our borrowing over 10 years averages out to about 5% per year. Mm-hmm. So it's a fairly safe cost of finance.
Councillor Barber?
What would be the highest interest rate that we are currently paying that if, say, a sale went ahead, we would be able to reduce? Do we have a revolving credit mortgage kind of thing?
Yeah, Steve Ballard would probably be able to provide more information on that. It tends to be first in, first out borrowing. There is some debt at the moment that's slightly above
the 5%.
That 5%, but at the same time we've got a certain amount that's below that. So I believe our cost of funds on our existing debt, so the debt before our current annual plan that we're working on at the moment, is sitting at about 4.8%.
And if we say, reduce, we'll just use $50 million as a figure. If we were to reduce our debt by $50 million, what measurable difference would that reduce the rates component of our cost of borrowing? So from what I understand, it's 25% of rates increases is a cost of borrowing.
Correct.
I mean, $50 million is fairly small in the scheme of things, but I'm just curious to know that.
It is small in the sense of borrowing. So debt takes 2 years to see the full impact on the rates number. That's because the rates impact is split between the interest effect, which occurs in the immediate year of borrowing, and the debt repayment or reduction in debt repayment that occurs the year following. So it's about 25% of the rates impact is in the initial year, and I'm speaking from memory here, but about $112 million at the moment gets you a 1% rates increase over 2 years. So if I don't have. So
that's capital.
That's capital. So capital assumes borrowing. It works on that basis. So the rates advantage of $50 million in the initial year is a reduction in the amount of interest, and then thereafter the continued reduction in that interest expense and debt repayment. So if borrowing, for example, was reduced by $50 million, $50 million next year, in the 27 year, you'd be looking at around a $1 million reduction in interest expense. The year following, about $2.5 million reduction in interest expense. That increase is due to the potential timing of when that borrowing would occur or debt repayment would occur, and debt reduction would commence over 30 years at $1.65 million per year.
So just a final question, in context of all council borrowing, what would, just an approximate figure of, I guess the the contribution of, $50 million, what's that total borrowing?
Total borrowing is a little shy of 3 billion. I think it's 2.6 to 2.9 range. That includes the borrowing that council has done on behalf of its subsidiaries. So by the time we strip that out and come to our net debt, if you like, it's around $1.9 billion, $1.6 billion sort of range.
So it's pretty small.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So David, I know, but just to be clear, the staff are answering questions that we've previously asked, and we've led on, this was part of it. Is your question now a follow-up? Okay, so have you got any more answers from previous? Right, over to you.
So, question for Bruce. You mentioned earlier, and so I'm being the new boy around the table, in and around, we have to advertise our prices for services, etc. One of the submitters, or a couple of the submitters, have talked about surge pricing for if we were to go to the model of another operator, or of retaining it but introducing another model. Could we do surge pricing? Because obviously that is something we were not advertising it, but we're going, or are we advertising a band?
Yeah, I think you could always advertise a band, but we're not experts at running car parks. We do lots of other things. So one of the things you'd potentially look at is getting some advice, possibly with external advice on top of that, that says, what would a different pricing structure look like to deal with events occurring? So I know in other places that you often see flat fee, $10 for the whole time after 7 p.m, that type of thing. So we'll be exploring those kind of options and providing you that advice, and then how we structure that into the fee system within our regulatory environment of having to consult and beforehand would work that through. It would take a while. Yeah. We move because of regulations and all those requirements. We don't move as fast as sometimes we'd like to move.
So, I mean, you've already answered this previously, that when I asked what sort of increase we'll be looking at to make this cover the interest, if people were of an appetite to have this cost neutral, if you like, and it's a difficult one to answer. So if we were to make a recommendation on, I'm not saying we are, but if it was, we could say, because submitters have told us that they would be okay with a small increase, is that enough guidance for council for us to sort of give it that sort of steer without being specific?
Potentially the guidance you could give to council, and this is more of a general advice, would be, here's the direction that we as the panel think you should go, and these are the parameters that we are interested in, and if that is further increases to the fee, if it's changes to the mix of short and long term, based on what you heard, you might even consider reviewing where long-term parking is allowed. If we're, one of the submitters talked about it being at lower levels and it should be at higher levels, those type of things. Give us high-level guidance, we can go away and provide more advice on that. And I'm happy to draft up some potential wording on that if you would.
So that advice would come back as part of our report to, we're reporting to finance and performance, or council?
Council.
Council. Then that piece of work would come back as part of our recommendations then, or that would come to us before we make our recommendation?
Probably it would work on the basis that you ask for that to go through, and then that comes at a later stage. So it can be a further report to council.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for staff for the here? That's great. Thank you. All right, so where are we up to now? Bruce, so our next submitters are not in. We've got two more after lunch at 12:15. So I guess we'll break now till should we say 12:10, come back. So it's now 11:10, so it's about an hour. All right, we'll see you back here then. So welcome, Thomas. You've got to come all the way up here and sit up here.
Sit at the table now.
I get to sit at the table for a
Yes, you can.
I did try for the
You can pretend you're the mayor.
Rose the phone, I'll take a photo.
And
Okay.
in case you really want to feel like the mayor, sit on one side of it.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, thanks for coming in. You've
So
got
actually-
5 minutes from now.
So with I think that the Litchfield Street State car parking should be kept due to the fact that it's $1.5 million in revenue right now. And as we've just built a stadium, I do believe that cost-wise, it is going to increase in its valuability to the city. I do believe maybe a 3% return might be improved with better management systems and stuff like that. I honestly do not support selling this asset. I think the asset is quite strategic, especially with a stadium, and very poor car parking. It is a common complaint that I've heard from people, and most of the people that have submitted and most of the people I've talked to basically have said do not sell it to Wilson's. There is a major frustration against Wilson's car parking, and it is a concern that most ratepayers say we need this asset. I believe that's why we should keep it.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
To the point, very clear. Thank you. Are there any questions for Thomas?
Thomas, I don't think Wilson's owns any car parks. They just sort of manage them. kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, so what is your opposition to organisations like Wilson's?
I'm just saying, mate, when I looked online on Facebook and stuff, the immediate concern was Wilson owns car park, and it's just the perception people have. They would complain about Wilson's because of the high cost, and this is a low cost car parking. I think that it's an important distinction. Ratepayers are kind of funding this, and they want it kept, and that's the issue. It is a perception problem. If Wilson's doesn't own the car parking, they probably are not aware of that.
So would you perhaps interpret that people are concerned about the monopoly groups taking over the car parking, and that's why you prefer to see council?
Yeah. Especially, it's a key location. It's right next to the stadium. It's right across from the bus exchange. It's right next to all the car parking. It is, you don't call it a strategic asset, but it kind of is a strategic asset, especially with a big stadium that needs car parking. We're going to get more people. Once the stadium's operating and we're having people coming in, that's going to be a well-used area. It's not going to stay at 1.5. It will become a multi-million-dollar asset if it's operated properly.
Good point. Any other questions for Thomas? Oh, yeah,
How would you feel if we sold it to someone like Ngāi Tahu, for instance?
I think we should keep it. I think we it's not against Ngāi Tahu, but having a person that could potentially become a monopoly, and Ngāi Tahu do get perceived as being favoritised by the council, I think there's still going to be issues that way. And I think holding on to just this one, maybe because of its location, it's a strategic location, I think it's better for council to hold on to it.
Okay, thank you.
It's a very clear message. Thank you very much.
No problem.
For that short time, but we value your voice. Thanks.
Oh.
I mean, Margaret. No, don't be. We don't need the details. Just come and have a seat because you use up all your time. Oh,
So I'll be back to the council about that because when the stadium opens, it's going to be more shit.
well, we'll look forward to that, Margaret.
So coming back to you.
Yes.
Don't worry, I will. I've actually got great problems and other things I want to get to the council as well. I just don't have time.
So you just take your time to get ready, and we'll start the clock when you start. If you just want to.
No, I'm ready.
You ready? Okay.
I'm going to get hyped
So
up
you get,
anyway. I must be hyped up.
You get 5 minutes, and if you
Okay.
want to allow time for questions, then just make it a bit shorter.
Okay,
But far away.
far.
Nice to see you.
So hi, I'm Margaret Stewart and I live in St Albans, and I think a few of you know me because I'm quite frequently down here at council letting my opinions be known. So as mentioned in my written submission, I can't even read my writing now. I'm here to request that the ownership of the Litchfield car park remain in the council's hands and not be sold off to a private interest. The council is a public service and is meant to offer public services, including car parking, at reasonable prices. It is not a corporation making mega bucks for shareholders. It is a public service offering public services at reasonable prices to ratepayers and to residents. By retaining public car parking, we can help keep car parking prices at a reasonable level. Success does not need to be monetary and a huge profit. The mutual and co-op model, which is about covering costs, putting money aside for RT research and development and for future infrastructure, and providing value to its members, i.e. ratepayers, is another way of running a business. It's a perfectly acceptable model. And it is okay for the council to actually operate under this model. It doesn't need to behave like it's Frontiera or some of these other companies. So this is probably the model, and the council should be working under this model. Therefore, please retain ownership of the parking buildings as a public service to the local community. And perhaps remember, one of the key reasons for joining the council as a staff member is to serve the people and ensure and enable everyone can live well, and not just the rich people at the top. It would also be nice if someone could also inform CC Holdings of this, as well, as they are a part of the council and they need to stop trying to sell everything off to make more profit or invest elsewhere, including the port and stuff like that. Life does not have to be about huge profits, and it is time to start making changes so all people can experience a nice life and not just the few at the top. Go the revolution. I actually didn't write that down, but I'm busy trying to start a revolution, actually, and this is a good place to get the world to think not just about money. When you're in a nursing home, you can take one box of stuff with you, you can't take it with you. So let's start making life a nice place for everyone so people aren't all angry and stroppy at everyone, and let's just start here. Why not? So please, council, can we just try and pretend it's 1980 again, before neoliberalism and Margaret Thatcher came in, and let's just try and do what John Savage and various people wrote about after the Depression and the war. Maybe we start living like that again, because certainly it's not going to be a very nice place for our children to be growing up in. So let's just start doing something about it. Otherwise, it's just very sad. And that's it.
Well, thank you. So, any questions? Very clear. Oh, we hear you. We hear what you're saying.
Please.
Money isn't everything.
Money's not everything. And when you've gone through a lot of shit, which I have anyway, I've only just got my 18-year-old, or the whole world's hearing this, aren't they? My 18-year-old who's been living with his father for 6 years. It was meant to be shared custody, but it ended up 100% down there. He's just come home to me after 6 years, and all I like doing now is going home and being in the same house.
Because those are the important
It's
things.
him, because that's what's important. And I think other people should be able to live the same way and not worry about how they're going to afford to pay to come and park in the.
So to weave that
centre.
back to the car park, you're concerned about potential price hikes that would make it unaffordable for regular people to be able to use it if we were to sell it.
And also it gives then all the car parking companies a monopoly to just keep doing what they do. Like the power companies at the moment are going a bit mad purely because they didn't put money aside over the last 40 years to actually sort out their infrastructure, and now they're doing user pays. And I think after 40 years of experience, we can work out user pays doesn't probably work. We have people who have to choose between food bills and power bills. They won't even be going into the city centre. to shop. Is it fair that they have 60, 80 years on the planet and can't do anything? It's like being back in Victorian mills where they used to do 12-hour days, didn't they? And didn't get a day off and didn't earn very much money. So why are we not looking at what we have done over what we did do over those years, move to a better life for people?
A fairer life, so reduce that gap between the very wealthy and the people that don't have enough to live on.
And
Very
we
noble.
thought of that a bit at one point, and now we're just going backwards, and it's terrible. And I'm going to use my voice to try and make change, because we can't keep going on. We're heading towards some of these movies.
No, thank you, Margaret. Have you thought about getting a little box and standing on it in the square?
No, I'm
now the
thinking about-
wizard's not really there anymore, is
No,
he?
I think he might do something with a top party or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Hey, well, thanks for coming in. It's a good use of your 5 minutes. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Enjoy the day out there.
Okay, I'll be back to see you about various other issues.
Yep. As I said, we look forward to it. So that's the end of our. You're the lucky last of our submitters today.
Now the whole world knows about having my custody issues. It's not like that. It's not like that. Yeah, so maybe.
Yeah. I think it's a good news story and it's something you should share, and a lot of people probably enjoy, so don't worry about it.
So much happier and stuff. It's amazing.
All righty, but we'll get on with our business.
Real fan of the car park.
Yes, I know.
Public ownership, and please don't sell the port off to the Dubai royal family. Okay.
Okay.
Have a word with the city council, the people on the holdings thing, and give them a little lesson on not doing it. Social crisis and social policy, where I learned about all that stuff. So I do not want to that.
Thank you.
Anyway, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Next time.
Right. So, are there, Bruce is going to come back to the table. Do we have any more questions for staff?
I just had some answers from those other ones from this
So we'll
morning.
do the answers first, and we'll go on to the next round of questions.
So one of the questions was, has there been any change in usage since consultation started? It's been change, but it's seasonal change, and what the staff said, they haven't really seen it. There was also a price increase in November. There hasn't been a drop because of that, or an increase. It's following seasonal patterns. Future demand models for the car park, not specifically for the car park. There has been modelling, because it was a lot of this has come about in terms of that major facilities piece. There has been modelling around mode share for One New Zealand Stadium, but that doesn't flow down to this level of granularity for specific locations. When we have been looking at that closely, but that's within another of my hats on, looking at the bus exchange and what we expect the increased through flow on that. Do we collect data on usage of the disability car parks? Nothing specifically on that, but the anecdotal is that they are very well used on that. And then finally was just that cost to rebuild. So the cost to rebuild was 30.9, so 31 million to rebuild.
Plus land.
Yeah, so we had the land, but yes,
Right.
the value consists of
50 million. Yep. Right. Questions, Melanie?
This was from something you just mentioned before about the, I was just wondering what proportion of revenue from the building is from car parks versus business leasing.
Yeah. Term rentals.
Like, are we using our car park as a loss?
No, the casual rentals hire, which is the car parking fees, just looking at 2025 financial year, although no, hang on, but I'll go to the last actuals, which was 2024, and here in front of me, it was 2.89 from the casual fees for car parking hire, and 262,000 for the rentals. So they're important, but they're not the major driver of revenue from the site.
There was 2.8.
car parking fees and 263,000 for rentals. Yeah, I would just put one thing. It's not material, but just for completeness, those rentals are a bit depressed because they're still. We put COVID related reductions on rentals for some of the retail ones, and that's flowing through, and we still haven't removed the final yet because the retail activity is not up.
Difficult time for projections. Are there any other questions that need to be asked? Oh, that's excellent. Thank you, Bruce.